Meeting to order. Those in attendance, please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome all of our friends and neighbors and colleagues in joining us in this regularly scheduled January 16th, 2024 City Council meeting. As you come in tonight, which will be to my right, to everyone else's left, there will be a desk through those double doors. On that desk, there's a sign-in sheet. If you're a guest with us tonight, please sign in. City Clerk, can I have a roll call?
Yes, Councilperson Morrissey.
Here.
Palladino.
Here.
Pratt. Here. Sharp.
Here.
Soha.
Present.
Stuchel.
Here.
Veer. Councilperson Wolfram.
Here.
And Mayor Stockford.
Present.
You have 8 present, Mayor.
Thank you, Katie. We'll move into approval of agenda. City Manager, any council members have any changes to make to the agenda tonight? I have one change I'd like to make. I'd like to remove Ms. Penny Swan from the Election Commission appointment and substitute her with Ginger Novak. Penny served on lots of boards, probably more than I have, but there's other people interested, and I think it's time that we make some room for more people. I'll make a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion on the floor by myself, seconded by Councilman Stuchel. All in favor?
Aye. Nay.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Roll call vote, City Clerk.
Councilperson Palladino.
Yes.
Pratt.
Yes.
Sharp.
No.
Soha.
Yes.
Stuchel.
Yes.
Veer. Oh, excuse me, sorry. Wolfram.
Yes.
Mayor Stockford.
Yes.
And Morrissey.
No.
So it's 6-2 approved.
Thank you, Katie. Do I have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
So moved. Support.
Motion on the floor by Councilman Morrissey, seconded by Councilman Stuchel. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We will move into public comment on agenda items only. During this time, the podium will be open. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please limit your trips to 1 to the podium. And remember, this is only on items that are present on the agenda. So make sure if you're commenting on something, it has a direct tie to something there. Podium is now open.
Penny Swan, Ward 4. That was a pretty sneaky move. It's on the agenda, people are prepared for this. That's bad politics. I know you love it, that's fine. I have it recorded and that will be used out there on you. What kind of state rep are you gonna make if you pull shenanigans like this? It'll come around to bite you.
Thank you, Penny. Podium still open. Any more public comment? Seeing none, we'll close the podium and we will move into the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we've got approval of bills, city and BPU claims of December 14th and December 28th, payroll of December 21st and January 4th, city council minutes of December 18th, finance minutes of December 18th, LAC minutes and accessibility plan of January 3rd, 2024, BPU John Deere Backhoe Service Agreement, BPU HomeServe USA Corporation Service Line Agreement, BPU Tetra Tech Study Hillsdale College Sanitary Sewer Study. Any discussion on any items in the consent agenda?
The finance minutes are both for December 18th and January 3rd.
Finance, it says.
Right, he didn't read that.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Wolfram. The finance minutes are of December 18th and January 3rd. Yeah, good catch, Kerry. Any discussion on any items in the consent agenda? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Morrissey, seconded by Councilwoman Pratt. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We'll move into communications petitions. Item letter A, Kiefer House Hotel LLC construction update. Nick.
Good evening. So we've made some continued progress. We did very well over the holidays and throughout this nice winter. We've got the structure and the new skeleton basically of the building is done. We're moving into removing the shoring that was holding up the floors previously, and then we'll be able to get started on the actual build out on the basement and first level right now until we finish up the second floor, and then we'll move into the elevator shaft and just continue with the build out. I've had some very productive meetings with the Hillsdale staff as far as some of our stormwater issues, and we've got that resolved, and we've got some very good progress, and I wanted to thank everybody that's been very helpful. So,
Thank you, Nick. Any questions for Nick while he's at the podium?
Yeah.
Councilman Morrissey.
Just, are you on schedule for?
absolutely. In fact, I just got an updated schedule from Phoenix, the general contractor, and we're right on schedule for the end of August.
Councilman Sharp.
I was up there a couple weeks ago and took a tour through it. It's looking very promising what you guys are doing. Right now, I'll wait another week before I visit you again because it's a little
Great.
cold in that building.
They've got the heat pumping, but it's
Right.
-6 out.
But it was
it's
very
Hard to
impressive.
keep up with that. Yeah,
I was very impressed with that floor. I saw the 6-inch drop in the back part's no longer
Yeah.
there. That
Oh,
was
it's
pretty amazing.
It's solid.
Yes.
You can definitely feel a difference when you walk on that floor now.
Keep
Any
it
of
up. Good work. You guys are doing well.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Any more questions for Nick? Councilman Wolfram.
You've improved the structure of the roof and the supports for the roof?
Absolutely. And we're continuing to do so. They're still working on it, but on the back of the building, we've already shored up the entirety. So we have a little bit to do on the front.
Councilman Stuchel.
I just want to make a comment as well, but Rob and I went through it today, but one thing about the construction site that I was impressed with is how clean it was. That's good work,
Clean site is a happy site.
safe
Yeah.
site.
Especially the mayor next door.
I haven't been in there, but I've been peeking through the windows.
Oh, you're welcome to
and
come. I'll be there tomorrow morning if anybody wants to come through.
I wish I had the time. I will get in there very soon if you're gonna be over there, Nick, but I've been peeking through the windows and
Sounds good.
the basement looks really good, so very encouraging. Thank you.
And dry.
And dry. Thank you for keeping your word. It means a lot.
Absolutely. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Any discussion on that item? Councilman Soha.
Yeah, walking through, Mr. Andrew Gelser was there today with us as well, and Mary Wolfram, and it was just really exciting to see, I mean, the way that they have shored up this building, it's gonna stand there and will outlive our children. It's very substantial. I learned about how the water flows down to the Kiefer House, and it's in a clay bed today, and that's why they had the big water issue, and they had to work extensively with the city to be able to make sure that that doesn't have other unexpected consequences to the city's system. So they've been doing due diligence and have done a tremendous job to this point. And if you have the opportunity and are able to get a tour, we can arrange that for you. I think it's well worth, and it's an exciting renaissance for downtown. So thank you, Nick.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, we will move on to item letter B, assessment audit review certificate. And I need to find this in my packet. Dave, do you have anything on this?
This was just communication that I wanted to share with council and our certificate that our assessing department had a perfect score for 2023.
Did the letter say the congratulations to the township? Yeah, but the letter that actually went along with the certificate, like the certificate says the city, but the congratulatory letter.
It should say city.
That's what I thought. My wife picked that up. She's a former 7th grade teacher.
Any more discussion? All right, we will move on to item letter C, reading emergency unit. Keith O'Neill, is Keith here?
Yes. Hello, city council members.
It's been a while since I've been in here, so I just wanted to kind of pop in, give you some information and answer questions if there are any. Get this to the start. First page I gave you here just basically shows you the response time, average response time, responding in the city of Hillsdale, which is 5 minutes and 34 seconds. I report to the Board of Commissioners. I try to go quarterly, but I was out of service due to a knee injury for a while, so I got in there not too long ago and I gave a report, which you'll have a copy of that report that goes to the Board of Commission. And the RU service area, which is 11 townships and 4 cities, our average response time for that service area is 11 minutes and 26 seconds. Outside RU service area, still in Hillsdale County, which is going to be Moscow, Pittsburgh, Jefferson, of that nature, is 12 minutes and 31 seconds. And out of county, which we take a lot of not transfer, but 911 calls in Branch County, Calhoun, average response time is 12 minutes and 31 seconds. Our staffing levels are kind of stagnant, sitting there, but we just did hire a paramedic and an advanced EMT. So that gets our paramedic levels up to 6. Casual staffing paramedics 2, so we have 8. I don't put myself on there, so I work the road quite often, so I just fill in where I can if somebody calls off. Full-time EMTs 8, part-time EMTs 6. I have our call volume in comparison to 22 and 23, and our emergency calls went up 5. Transfers went up 56 calls. And within that, the hospital transfers increased to 45 calls. When we do hospital transfers, that takes us out of our service area for quite some time. Just give or take where they send them to. We go to Detroit, Grand Rapids, Toledo, Indiana, wherever they send us, and we can take them. If we have 2 ambulances available, we'll take the transfer. If we're down to 1 ambulance, we turn the transfers down, so we can keep 1 ambulance available anyways. One of the big concerns, which has always been a concern since I come in here, is the amount of times that REU is unable to handle a call, and that's where mutual aid comes into our area. We have been decreasing that number, and from 22 to 23, we decreased that by 52 calls. We were unable to handle 126 calls last year. But our response from mutual aid, we increased by 14 calls, and we gave mutual aid to other agencies 107 times. So it's kind of reciprocates. And plus by the mutual aid, the Hillsdale County ambulance contract that we signed for the millage, every ambulance service, was just 5 of us in Hillsdale County. We are required to run anywhere in Hillsdale County when they're called. So it's a blanketed mutual aid contract. So if we get called in outside our area, we go, with no problem. We have an American Heart Training Center, which teaches CPR, which is for BLS for healthcare providers and the lay person. We get out into the community, teach for schools, local businesses. The classes taught was ironic, 174 both years in a row, which is kind of mind-boggling to me. But our cards that we put out, we taught 335 more students. We continue to recruit. We're staffing 2 to 3 stations. Some days we're putting 3 BLS cars on and 1 paramedic echo, and we chase them around. So we're doing everything in our power to keep the staffing levels up and to keep the county protected. Any questions for you?
Thank you, Keith. Any questions for Keith?
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Any conversation amongst council? Okay, seeing none, we will move into item letter D in communications petitions. Hillsdale County Commissioner update, Commissioner Ingalls.
Thank you. Hillsdale County is seeking individuals for the County Planning Commission. Members of the Planning Commission represent economic, natural resources, education, farming, townships, and citizens. Currently, we have an opening for a member representing cities, villages. Those interested should contact the county clerk's office. I do have an update from the Road Commission. Today I spoke with Bob Godfrey, who is chair of the Road Commission. He tells me that crews worked from 4 a.m. to 7.
Thank you, Mayor. As you had indicated, this is something that the Public Service Committee has been working on for a while. This is the ordinance that they have recommended be considered by full council for approval. And I think we've addressed everyone's concerns that came in front of the committee and the committee members. So with that, if there are any Public Service Committee members that wanted to add anything to that.
Public Service Committee members? Anybody got anything?
Isn't there public comment?
Yep. Okay, we'll now open up the podium for public comment regarding only this amendment for parades and special events. The podium will be open. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please limit your trips to 1 to the podium. And remember, you can only speak on the ordinance amendment for parades and special events. Podium's open.
How's everybody doing this evening?
Cold.
Yes, it is. Now the fee schedule that we have in place presently is far exceeds what the fees used to be. I understand they were quite minuscule before because it used to cost me $45 to cut off my little chunk on North Street, and now it would be significantly higher under the proposed schedule. And but I've always picked up my own barricades, dropped them off. I mean, if they have time, they'll drop them off for me, but I don't expect that because I can do it all myself. But even if I did it on my own, between the barricade rental and just the $250 fee, it almost, I don't know, I up it by 10 times. So I used to pay $45, and now under the new fee schedule, it'd be over $300. And I think we need to find a middle ground to that, because if I'm doing all the labor, all they gotta do is sign the permit and push it through. I mean, I really should not be that significant. I mean, I do one festival a year now, and I don't do it as a moneymaker because I put out huge money for bands, stages, lights, sound, staff, all that stuff. So I mean, it's a very expensive event for me to do, and if you guys add more on top of it, I'll be inclined not to, because it just doesn't seem, I don't know, financially responsible to come in and lose money on something like that. I mean, I break even, which is cool. I don't do it just to make money, I do it because I like it, and people like it. I mean, last year we put 250 people in the street that normally sitting at home bitching because there's nothing to do in Hillsdale. And I don't know, that's all I want to say is I think we need to revisit the fees. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kevin. Any more public comment?
Good evening, I'm Felicia Finch from Hillsdale Brewing Company. So several businesses got together in October and hosted a Scarecrow Festival. According to the fee schedule, I had to put down $500, thinking I'd get a little bit back. Got an additional $284 bill, so this cost nearly $800 to hold a free event for our community. Blows my mind that it can cost that much for us to want to get together, to bring more people downtown, to bring more people to the businesses. So if anyone wants to see the bill, it's right here, $784.17. Cindy from the Hillsdale Filling Station wanted to be here tonight, but she also sent a letter. I'm not going to read it word for word, but she is completely wondering why the bureaucratic red tape, the growing requirements and hoops that seem to get larger each year. The fees necessary to cover it is an inconvenience for all of us. Why have a parade? Why have a Hillsdale Farmers Market? Why have an event if it's gonna cost $800 to shut down one road? I didn't make a dime, I lost $800, plus all the games, plus all the prizes. So, that's all, thank you.
Thank you, Felicia. Any more public comment?
Good evening. Hi, Ken Joswick. I'm the president of the Hillsdale Business Association. I guess some of the questions, not only along with the fees, which I brought up at past meetings and that, but looking at now, it looks like the fees can possibly change by event or year to year. According to this, there's really no fee schedule now. It's just saying that we have to have permits submitted 90 days ahead of time. So when do we find out if there's a fee or how much that fee is? Can we fill these out like they need, like we know every year, August, the first Friday of August is Summer in the City. The first Saturday of December is the light up parade. So do we file in January to find out what the fee is so we know ahead of time whether or not we're gonna have the event or to plan it, how those fees are gonna be? This, I don't know, the last couple meetings we talked about addressing the fees. This doesn't seem to really address what the fee is. It just says there's different groups and how city sponsored event. So Christmas in the city, we do with the actual city, with the HBA. We don't close the roads or anything down, but we do that evening for the parade. So is that different, or is that part of that, or how is all this gonna work out? Thanks.
Thank you, Ken. Good points. Any more public comment? Seeing none, we'll close the podium, open up the council table of conversation. Council members? Councilman Palladino.
Yeah, we are not, this doesn't address the fee schedule as far as I understand. The fee schedule is still the old fee schedule. Is that correct?
We had voted to suspend the fee schedule, what was it, November?
Yeah, 2 months ago.
2 meetings ago?
2 months ago.
2 months ago?
Yeah, so sorry, I should have spoken before. I didn't realize that was going to be a confusion. This is simply a framework for how to apply for events so that Mr. Blake would have more ability to prepare for them, as well as a framework for establishing who gets a total exemption from the fee schedule. And we decided that that was the fees, or the events protected by state law, which are military related. So they don't have any fees of the old fee schedule. And then we get to determine by resolution who gets a reduction in fees for events in the city. So this doesn't affect the fees. That's still the old fee schedule, and we still have to discuss that. This is merely who gets a total exemption from those older fees based on state law or resolution of the council. And as far as I understand, that's how the city has operated in the past. We have given these Veterans Days events, etc., a total exemption from the fees. We just never had it in law, so it seems sort of arbitrary that we were charging some groups the fees but not others. So we're just putting it into law, this practice. Yeah, if anyone has anything to add to that, I think that's all we're doing right now.
That's my understanding, and my understanding is that the previous fee schedule that was passed before, that we had suspended that so Public Services Committee could continue to work out. Because really the important thing was that events that have a long-standing tradition in the community, like Kevin's events at the pub and like the ones that Ken was talking about, I know the city doesn't want to make those cost prohibitive and see those go away. So my understanding was the consensus and the direction from council was to look at those fees again and to be able to take into consideration things that were already a tradition in the city of Hillsdale. Am I right about that? I'm not on public services, so.
Just to add one thing to it,
Yes.
Councilman Palladino stated it correctly, but basically it's set up so that the determination as to what the fees would be, there's a provision that says payment of costs. City council shall from time to time by resolution adopt a policy which sets forth the amounts the sponsors or other persons responsible for the special event must pay to the city to reimburse the city, et cetera, et cetera. So the reason you don't put that in an ordinance is every time you wanted to change the fee structure, you'd actually have to adopt a whole new ordinance. You'd have to amend the ordinance in effect. You do it by resolution, so you periodically can review that and take whatever steps you want to be able to assess what the actual costs are to the city to be able to provide whatever the city provides in terms of labor and, rental of equipment and that sort of thing. Because remember, this is all again tied to Michigan law and the constitutional provision that doesn't allow the city to just give away its resources, public resources, without getting fair value in return. So that's what in effect you'd be doing when you look at that schedule, is determining kind of what the fair value of those things that the city would provide would be in a fashion that people that want to put on an event would be able to assess that when they want to do their event, but also to provide opportunities, as Councilman Palladino pointed out, for the city to partner with certain types of groups, in which case it becomes a city-sponsored event, in which case, arguably, it's not, you aren't constrained by those requirements that you have to get fair value for the resources.
And you could use that as a qualifier on that benefit, what the benefit is to the community. For instance, when Kevin closes down his block to have an event down there, brings a lot of people downtown, that's a benefit to the community, right? You can use that as a consideration.
Well, but in order to do that, if you really wanted to have a decent argument, I'm not saying it's bulletproof, but to have a decent argument that you are not, in effect, giving away public resources to a private entity or another public entity. You could give it over to the county or some other public entity, if they wanted to do something. In order to get to address that, there are provisions or statutes that allow a city to provide for recreational and other kinds of events within the city that relate to its heritage and are related to, you know, what you can loosely, I guess, qualify as or describe as economic development kind of things, right? Things that would show the people how great it is to live in the city of Hillsdale or to move here or that sort of thing, right? So that's sort of what this is addressed to. It's a way to do what you'd like to do, which is be able to have some events that are in the city that maybe really, if you just glanced at them, wouldn't qualify for you to reduce the costs or not charge people the costs, but at least give you a reasonable argument that because the city is co-sponsoring it and it fits sort of under that general broad description, that it's okay under that statute. That's basically what this is crafted to try to do.
Okay, so if we're going to approve these events by resolution, then when somebody applies for the events, should Public Services Committee look at them first, or should we set up a whole new, like, special events committee for council? With the number of events I'm thinking that we have throughout the year, which there's a good number of them, if we're gonna do a resolution every time and establish some sort of process, do you think we should establish some sort of committee to look at them, or just have Public Services Committee be the one that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's sort of set up to give, I guess what you could do is you could refer it to the committee and they'd come back with a recommendation, right? The idea is it gives flexibility to the council to look at events and say, yeah, that's one that is in effect, we're gonna treat as a city-sponsored event under this ordinance, and is something that will fall under that list of things that either is exempt or not exempt from the provisions regarding costs. Right?
Okay. Councilman Saw.
Thank you, Tom, for that explanation. Would we be able to, since we're, for example, Summer in the City, they come and they say, hey, we want to do Summer in the City, they fill out the permits, and then Public Services says, okay, Summer in the City, could we suggest a resolution that, hey, Summer in the City from this time forward is gonna have X, so that they know going in, Summer in the City is gonna cost $100, $500, whatever X is, zero, if we feel like it's the city's able to co-sponsor and it's that type of a benefit. Could we do a permanent resolution with this language of this?
I would suggest that you not do that, because one of the things, if you did that you would run into is
over time, costs go up, right? So you wanna at least make it look like you've taken a look at what are the actual costs to the city, because remember, taxpayer dollars going to it. And are those at least arguably reflective of what you should be getting in return for the use of the city's resources? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So if you did a permanent one, remember, I'm thinking about this also, like if I had to defend this in court, right, somebody challenged it. What kind of arguments do you make? Well, one of them is that we look at that periodically to try and determine that. You sort of undermine that a little bit if you've got sort of an ongoing resolution that you never revisit. You could never change it, I mean, as long as you were looking at it every year. But you'd wanna at least go through that process, whether it's through a committee or whatever else, to recommend what the costs are gonna be. And the cost should be uniform for, you know, like if it's a barricade cost should be the same for everyone, unless it falls under that city-sponsored event provision, right? That's what that's all there for, is to allow that mechanism for, in effect, for it to be something that is sponsored by the city or co-sponsored by the city, in which case the city, in effect, is helping to put it on and therefore can expend funds, right? That's what the whole thing is about. Because when you give somebody the barricades, well, that's the city expending a cost. When you have the labor, you're paying people to go out and do work to set them up or take them down. You're spending the city's money for that event. And the question is, what things can you properly spend the city's money on an event for? There are the things that we've identified by statute: Independence Day, Memorial Day, and Veterans Day, okay? You're allowed, there's a specific state statute that says a municipality can spend money, can appropriate money to have celebrations of those specific holidays. And that's it. There's another broader statute that I found that kind of deals with that economic development kind of stuff, for lack of a better way to describe it. And that then allows you to spend money, public money, on that event. So that's kind of what this is aimed at. And I'll tell you, most of this, or a large chunk of it, is lifted from a similar ordinance that the city of Chelsea has. And I liked it because it addresses use of public, and not only even public resources, but streets and all that other kind of stuff, right? Public property. So you've kind of got coverage for that. And it does give you the flexibility to at least say, you know, we've looked at that and we think that that's something that is legitimately a thing that the city should be able to expend its funds and resources on. The city's expenditures could be in kind, right? So that's, instead of charging you for providing the barricades, the city's contribution as co-sponsor of the event is gonna be to provide the barricades and to provide the labor to set them up and take them down, that sort of thing, right? So that's how you have to think about it. You have to think about it from an appropriation perspective. You're appropriating funds of the city, taxpayer funds, to do these things. And you want to make sure that you've got at least a decent argument that that's proper and appropriate. Appropriate to appropriate.
Continue. So, ladies and gentlemen, basically, when you submit your application, it's gonna come to us, and we will be able to consider each application on a case-by-case basis of what the city's willing to do as far as co-sponsor or decrease the costs or whatever per case. And of course, the tried and true events that have been staples in our community are gonna find favor with council, I can assure you.
Councilman Palladino.
I'll just add that I don't even think all of them are gonna come before us. We've already included on the resolution the ones that we thought there would be no discussion about or no argument about. Summer in the City, Light Up Parade, maybe a few others. And we also put in there, I believe, that they get a 50% reduction in cost, but that's also up to the council. We were sort of picking a middle ground and things that we thought would have agreement on, but this is all something that the council can decide upon. So if you want to reduce the cost for certain events, you just increase the amount of the reduction, but you do that across the board rather than on a case-by-case basis. At least that's how I understand the resolution.
And we're continuing.
Forgive me, that reminds me that one of the other things, and it was brought up twice, is like when Felicia, she had the $284 come after the fact. And Ken and I spoke today, and he said that's a difficult thing for event planners to, you know, absorb. You know, how do you get your sponsors to absorb a cost that you don't even know what it's gonna be until the labor is done? And I know we can't assess labor charges until we've spent the time. I get that, Jason, but that's just something I don't know.
If I may real quick, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, Jason, I would like you to walk council through the process we go through just to.
The current process?
Yes.
Okay, the current process that we did after we raised the fee schedule from July 1st, how we were doing it, the permits come in, we get the insurance on them, I assess the fee on them for our structure, they go to our secretary, they go out, and she calls them individually to give them a price before the event. So that's traditionally what we've been doing since July 1 till back in November when we, you know, put it back to the old fee. So we want to do that so there was at least no blind payment, or blind fees on it, if you will.
Councilman Trent.
So, my problem is here, we just recently, made a social district drinking thing here to help promote the downtown and bring people into downtown. But yet, we're sitting here and telling these people wanna hold these events like the one lady was talking about, something else that brings people in and actually walks around town and looks. And I mean, the HBA's done it before when they had their scavenger hunts in the city or looking for the sleigh or stuff like that. People would go in these stores and say, well, I didn't know you had this business here until now. But yet, we are now, and so they're trying to do something to bring more people into town, just like the farmer's market, which we dealt with last year. We're gonna have to deal with again this year, because the courthouse is not gonna be done. So they took care of their barricades, they found a way to do it. And it worked. And I wanna see Hillsdale promoted. I know we have the Fair Parade, we have the 4th of July Parade, those are the two big parades in Hillsdale. And we have other events, the light up thing, which was a few years back started, and it's a good event. But we wanna promote Hillsdale, we don't wanna and these people wanna do it, we shouldn't be punishing them. But we also have to work with you and how to get these barricades there and making sure everybody's safe. And I wanna continue doing it, but I wanna work with these guys too, because they got the vision to make Hillsdale grow. And I wanna see that happen. And I don't wanna pick their pockets by doing it.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm concerned with. And I'm with those guys.
Councilman Palladino. Thank you, Councilman Sharp.
Yeah, just to clarify the confusion about this, once again, this is creating an exemption that didn't exist. You used to have to pay the whole fee schedule. Okay, so now we have the old fee schedule and you're gonna get an exemption of 50% if you're in this resolution. So there's no, we're not even considering an increase of costs at this point. That this is only the possibility to reduce costs. So when we discuss the resolution later, that would be something to discuss, but I'm not sure this is actually apropos of the ordinance amendment.
May I say one other thing? I'm sorry, Bruce.
No, I just want to know, have you guys checked with other communities, like Coldwater, Quincy, Jackson, other communities and what they charge?
Yeah, so actually I did multiple municipalities, Marshall, Coldwater, several others, Flat Rock. Our pricing is, if not lower than everyone else. And what we did kind of a disservice to ourselves in a way. And our permit fee should have went up over 20 years just to be up where we're at today, not all at once. And I do understand that, but what we put in there to recoup our cost of manpower, the attorney's time going through every special event goes to him for approval, or I'm sorry, review. Chief's time, all of our staff's time to go through them, my own time, and then every barricade costs on the average $250 to $300 per. I mean, these are same barricades that DPS, BPU, contractors use every day. So their shelf life is not just done by one, it's done by 60, 70% just in year one, just to recoup it. So that's what those words try to recoup the cost to keep compliant traffic control in and cover all of our staffing as well. So that was kind of the backstory on why we try to do that schedule as we did.
Any more discussion? Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir. Anything, guys? Have a motion to approve the amendment?
So moved.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Palladino, seconded by Councilman Soha to approve the amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We'll now close the public hearing. And we'll move into item letter B, in introduction adoption of ordinances public hearing, which is another public hearing. Public hearing ordinance amendment to rezone 3005 West Carlson Road. So now we're opening up another public hearing. And Alan.
So the property that we were talking about rezoning is immediately adjacent to the new Mystic Car Care building, and on the east side of what used to be Wicker Works. It's a strip of land between the railroad and what used to be Wicker Works, and it's not ideal for retail because it's so hidden. The gentleman that owns it would like to put up self-storage units back there, but they are not permitted in the B3 district, which is what it is currently zoned. So we proposed to rezone it as PRD, which is planned redevelopment, and it's gone through some preliminary reviews with Planning Commission. They proposed to recommend to you to rezone. Problem was I was gone when they did that because I was away on family emergency, and so they sort of jumped the gun because there hadn't been a public hearing to notify the adjacent property owners first, so that's why we're here for the public hearing. So once the public hearing is complete, the Planning Commission recommends that you adopt the rezoning.
Very good, Alan. Any questions for Alan while he's up there? Councilman Palladino.
So you haven't heard, have you heard from any property owners, or you just, this is something you, okay. Will it be visible?
I've heard from no one by phone or email.
Okay.
If they wanted to come in person to the public hearing, they'll be here tonight.
Okay, thank you. Will it be visible from the street?
Not really. It sits down. You might be able to see the tops of the roofs, but you're not going to see a lot because they're just going to be single story. They'll actually be lower. They'll be a lower profile than his current Mr. Carton building is now. That one you don't see as readily as he'd probably like.
Go ahead, Bruce.
So it's gonna be back by the Mystic Auto Care and that far?
Mm-hmm.
That's further.
Further, almost to like the railroad tracks almost.
It's gonna be where the big drop off is behind Wicker Works and the railroad tracks down in that valley down there. Yeah, you don't see it unless you've been back there.
I'm more worried about security. You're kind of offering yourself up to, can't see it, guess what? One of those I mean, that's great, somebody's gonna put something there, it's just the location and the visibility won't be there for it, so that's kind of concerning, especially with the railroad tracks and the swamp back there, but hey.
I mean, there's already a homeless problem back there.
Oh, I know.
And by building, it'll get rid of all the hiding spots for them. And then it's gonna be all fenced in and everything,
Okay.
so we're definitely gonna address that as well.
Okay, any questions for Alan? Thank you, Alan. Okay, we will open up the podium for public comment. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please limit your trips to one to the podium. And remember, this is public comment for a public hearing, adoption or ordinance adoption to rezone 3005 West Carlton. So make sure if you're commenting, it's about that. The podium's now open. Seeing no public comment, we'll close the podium. What's your name, sir?
TJ Stevens.
TJ, you're the owner.
I am.
Yeah.
You want me to go up there?
Your location was in Jonesville previously.
Correct, yep, I was there for 6 years.
You don't have to. Is there anything that you want to add to it before council starts discussing about it?
No, just any questions, so I'm here.
Any questions for TJ? He's the owner.
We've met, I picked your truck up the one time,
You picked it up?
took it to Atkins.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I don't, now it's on.
You look different up there.
Yeah, gray hair. No, but I'm glad somebody's gonna do something back there. It's sat vacant for so long. Used to be Parney's back in that area and all the history we had back in that area. It's just, there's a mess back there, cause we rode the train back there. And I think it went behind Watson's in that area, stopped there, and there was a lot of junk back there, a lot of trash.
We've cleaned up most of it back there. And,
Okay.
I mean, we've done a lot of work in a couple years we've owned it.
Good.
In preparation.
That's all I have.
All right. Any questions for TJ? Thank you, TJ.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Motion to adopt the amended ordinance?
So moved. Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Morrissey, seconded by Councilman Sharp. Is that what I heard? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right, very good, council. We'll move out of introduction and adoption of public ordinances, public hearing. We're closing that last public hearing and we're moving into old business, property and casualty insurance. Let me get caught up in my packet. Dave.
Chris Sumnar coming back up.
Oh, Chris, I didn't see you, sorry.
I was hiding in the back. Chris Sumnar, thanks for having me back. I think all of you have this document that Mr. Mackey, I believe, put at your seats before we began today, and we met with the Finance Committee prior to this. As we discussed a month ago, that we've gone out to Travelers to try and get an alternate proposal for insurance for the city. They have returned a proposal that's just over $25,000 less premium than the Trident program. And let me just walk you through what this document is and what it is not, right? So we presented you with about a 23-page summary of insurance last time that was in your packet that was a condensed version of several hundred pages of contract. Now we've doubled that and tried to distill it down just to the differences in one page. So, this is certainly not a complete summary of the program. This is a highlighting of the differences between the two for decision and discussion purposes here today. And so, happy to answer any questions on this specifically, but I'll highlight the two or three we talked about in Finance Committee and the ones that I think are most significant. The first one is under the sexual abuse and molestation limit. Obviously a difference there between Trident and Travelers. One that we think we can resolve. So based on the risk management survey that Travelers did, they presented some recommendations that we'll work with city staff to resolve and get that limit addressed. And they will, if we're able to get full compliance there, they'll actually increase the limit over and above what Trident is offering or was offering at $500,000. Going back up a couple line items, the reason, so we have computer fraud coverage, which is not on the Travelers program. You guys have that separately under your cyber policy, which is not here. So there was some additional coverage under Trident that's not under Travelers, but you still have coverage for that. It was just a duplication of coverage elsewhere. And then under commercial auto, there is a change in deductible, as Chief Hepner noted. So if there is a significant number of auto losses, there could be some variable pricing and cost impact there. And then the way the replacement cost or the losses on auto claims are settled will be different in terms of what they can offer from a valuation perspective. So again, perhaps getting more in the weeds than you want. But Trident had a replacement cost for vehicles over $100,000 in value. Travelers has what's called an agreed value for vehicles that are over 100,000 and 10 years or newer. There are some differences in there that we can get into, but again, just some items we wanted to highlight. Happy to talk through some of the rest of them, but or explain why I don't see them as significant. But our recommendation would be to take the $25,000 savings that about halves the increase that you guys approved last time over the course of the year. So it takes it from 53,000 to 28. And sitting in your seats, that's the move I would make, and that's my recommendation. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions for Chris? Dave, you got something to add?
Yes, thanks, Mayor. Just wanted to point out that the actual breakdown that's in the council packet has changed. So there's this that was left at your seats that we just received, which actually shows the reduction that Chris spoke about. Travelers that came back and they were slightly lower, about $13,000, and Chris wanted to go back to them and try to work them over a little bit more. And so the breakdown that's in front of you is what denotes that $25,491.
We went back to both carriers a number of times trying to see if there were any creative ways to mix and match pieces of the program to benefit the city. But ultimately it was one complete program or the other, and Travelers was able to give a little more on their deductible options.
Thank you. Any discussion, any questions for Chris while he's up there? Councilman Soha?
Thank you, Chris. Just to clarify, your recommendation is to move with the lower bid to save them.
Absolutely.
That it's worth it.
Yes.
Any more questions for Chris? Thank you, Councilman Soha. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Council? Councilman Soha.
If we approve this, taking the Travelers, that it takes effect February 1, and then when is it for 11 months? Is it to the end of the year, or how? I'm sorry, I should have asked that in a second.
So that would move the policy term February 1. We could certainly we could certainly do 11-month policy if you wanted to get back on 1/1, but otherwise it would be Feb 1 to Feb 1.
Okay. Sounds like a good idea. Do I have a motion?
I move.
Second.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Stuchel, seconded by Councilwoman Pratt to switch from Trident to Travelers on February 1st for property and casualty insurance. Can I have a roll call, City Clerk?
Councilmember Pratt,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Soha,
Yes.
Stuchel,
Yes.
Wolfram,
Yes.
Mayor Stockford,
Yes.
Councilperson Morrissey,
Yes?
and Pratt, or Palladino.
Yes.
All right, 8-0 approved.
Thank you, Katie, and thank you for your diligence, Chris. Okay, we'll move out of old business and into new business. Item letter A, land division request parcel 006-334-20207. Is Kim here?
No.
Alan, you gonna take it?
Yep. That's what happens when she's the boss. So, it is a land division, which is the reason you guys have to approve it or deny it, is because it's part of a plat, and that's part of the charter. So the adjacent property owner is splitting off part of his property and wants to deed it over to his nephew who lives next door. So it will be a land division of the Reading Avenue property, and then it will also be then combined with the adjacent property. Both properties will be in compliance with the minimum lot size required by ordinance. So, do you have any questions?
Any questions for Alan? Easy stuff, Alan, thank you. Any conversation?
With my ward.
Councilman Salah?
Is there any reason why we wouldn't approve this?
I don't see why.
Just one person's taxes go up a little bit more, and the other person's down a little bit, but yeah.
Do I have a motion to approve the application as presented with the condition that parcel B may be decided to the owner of parcel A and combined as described on the survey submitted with the application upon execution of the deed establishing common ownership?
So moved. Second.
Boy. Motion on the floor from Councilman Sharp, seconded by Councilman Morrissey. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right, we'll move into item letter B in new business, blight elimination program demolition bid award. Let me get caught up here.
That's me too.
Okay, thanks, Alan.
So 47 East St. Joe, I don't know if you guys are aware of the property. It is near the Secretary of State's office. It's a little house that sits back and is squeezed in between two other houses. It has been a code enforcement nightmare for several years. Recently it went up for tax auction, and it was purchased by, and as far as we know, sight unseen, by an entity in Colorado. We tried to contact that LLC multiple times and never ever actually managed to get any correspondence with them whatsoever. Finally, we took it to court. The court made a judgment that the property owner was to bring it into compliance or tear it down by November of last year. They did not, so I signed an affidavit that our attorney prepared and contacted the owner again and let them know that since they had not, the city was given permission to do it by the court. And so that is what these bids were for, is to tear it down. We received 4 bids. Parrish, Du Bois, Slusarsky out of Adrian, and Handy Excavating out of Quincy. So Parrish Excavating is the lowest bid, and they are below the permissible threshold for a local bidder. So I recommended and am asking council to approve the contract to Parrish Excavating to tear down 47 East St. Joe.
Okay, Parrish has done a good job for us several times, so we've never had any issues with them. So any questions for Alan? Councilman Sola?
Is this, what part of the budget does this come out of?
Mine,
Yours and?
my code enforcement budget.
You had $100,000, I believe, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, we budgeted $100,000
Yep.
for demolition.
And this will bring me down to 20,000.
Thank you.
Pete's party.
Yeah, good job. Very good. Any more questions? Satisfied? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Sharp, seconded by Councilman Soha to accept the lowest bid, which is Parrish Excavating. May I have a roll call, city clerk?
Councilperson Sharp?
Yes.
Soha?
Yes.
Stuchel?
Yes.
Wolfram?
Yes.
Mayor Stockford?
Yes.
Councilperson Morrissey?
Yes.
Palladino?
Yes.
And Pratt?
Yes.
8-0 approved.
Thank you, Katie. We'll move into item letter C in new business, which is the Dial-A-Ride annual funding resolution. We do this every year. Jason, anything different this year than last year or the year before?
Just a few things, Mayor. This year, our, excuse me, our state contribution is up to 40%. It's about 6% higher than it was the year before. Our budget came in about $12,900 under than the year before. $412,000 last year. We're down to $399 this year, $399,000. So everything else is exactly the same.
Very good. Any questions for Jason? Thank you, Jason. Any discussion?
Actually, I just have one question I should ask Jason. So, the anticipated balanced budget is $399,646, dollars. But the people payments to Dial-A-Ride, is that bring that down?
No, that's actually included in there. That's in our 41% that comes from our local sources.
Okay.
So it's 18% state, 41% federal or local, and then 40% state.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about 45,000 on average that gets put into that 40%. 41%.
Any more questions for Jason? Have a motion?
Second.
Motion on the floor to approve the resolution as presented by Councilman Sharp, seconded by Councilman Morrissey. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We'll move into item letter D, in new business, residential and municipal trash recyclables, RFP.
Thank you, Mayor, Council.
Yeah, thank you, Jason.
Appreciate it.
Welcome back.
Our current contract expires February 1st. That is currently held with LRS, formerly Modern Waste or Tusk LLC. We solicited bids and we received 2 RFPs, one from LRS and the second from Granger Systems. After review of both proposals, or city staff's recommending LRS. Both of them did have pretty comparable bids in different lights. LRS residential for trash was $14.34 for trash per month, and then $361 per month for bi-weekly recycling, with a 4.5% raise per year after starting on the second year. Granger's was a little bit lower at $13.30 per month for trash, and then $327 a month for recycling services with a 4% increase starting upon year 2. Where LRS had better pricing was the dumpster services. Right now, the city has 6 dumpsters. LRS did combine the cost into the residential scale, so we're at $0 for the city side of the dumpsters. Granger's is $105 per dumpster per month over a 5-year contract. That's roughly $36,280. So that's where that came from. So I did here do a 5-year contract for LRS on the residential side. LRS was at $942.20. Granger is on $877.44 for trash service for 5-year contract, and LRS was $237 for residential recycling and $212.64 for residential recycling. It's a little better on the recycling side, but on the municipal side, a little quite higher. I do have some representatives from LRS tonight if you'd like to speak with them as well.
What do you guys think? I'd like to speak with them because I'm going to say I've had more complaints about LRS than I ever had for Republic in just the last probably 3 or 4 weeks. So I certainly would like to take the opportunity.
And a representative from Granger here as well.
Okay. Okay.
Hi, I'll introduce myself. I'm Larry Jones. I'm the division manager for LRS, housed out of Jackson, Michigan. So I've been with LRS since they acquired us last year. I came over with the Tusk team, so I was new to Modern. I came from Republic Services before that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I have been getting a ton of complaints about you guys not picking up, not coming back to pick up after you tell people you're going to come back to pick up. I don't know if you guys have new drivers or it seems like these have arisen after LRS bought out Modern. I don't remember having these issues with with Modern, but they have popped up. And maybe it's the holidays, you're short on drivers, I don't know what the deal is, but
Yeah,
it's been a considerable amount of frustration from residents that I don't recall having before, and I've been in this seat for quite a while now.
yeah, well, first I apologize for that, service issues that you're having. Changing drivers, we have one new driver that's in the city, but, he's been in the city for probably 7 months now. You had a seasoned guy that did part ways, back when it was Modern, before it became LRS. Other than that, we have had, we're moving a call center over into Jackson, so our call volume has been higher. We're currently now staffed to accept all the calls that were coming in. We shifted some call base that was over in Niles over into Jackson, which caused some heartburn. So maybe that was some of the residual that you felt from your citizens. But from my point, or from my seat, Jason's seat, I really haven't heard too many complaints or seen too many issues come from the city's residents. So I would like to get the addresses and look into them so I can see exactly what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I can do that. Let me make sure I get your email before you take off tonight. Bruce, did you have something to add?
Most definitely. My wife and I were sitting there going through our bills and stuff, and then we looked, when's the last time we got a bill?
So
we haven't gotten a bill since the last payment we made was July. And I'm sitting there scratching my head trying to think, well, we haven't paid in quite a while. I don't want to see my trash not picked up. So I called your number. Your name was on the thing when I pulled it up. Went rang. Nobody ever answered. So I couldn't even leave a message to say, hey, I'd like to get a bill so I can at least pay my thing and be on time. I mean, I have not had a problem with you guys picking up, but I'm concerned about the billing process.
Yeah, we did have a hiccup in the billing when we switched over operating systems, but that's all been resolved now, and you should have received a bill by mail.
All I received from you was a letter saying you guys are taking it over, and that's all I've got.
You haven't received
nothing
anything
else.
Okay.
You're still picking my trash up, God bless you. But I don't want to get an 8-month, 10-month.
No, I don't want you either. And so did you try? Was it a 517 number or a 2?
It went right to your message. I called your number and everything, and it just rang, and I just figured this is a great thing to have.
Yeah, no, you should. My cell phone's on my business card, so I'm surprised that it just rang through. So.
Stick around after this meeting, so you can get this straightened, so my wife stops worrying about the trash can.
I can definitely do that. And if you do have any concerns or complaints like that, please share them with me. Usually it's a pretty simple fix. Some kind of miscommunication has happened, but we take pride in what we do, and we try to do it to the best we can each day. So.
Well, thank you.
I do have one more question.
Okay.
How long you guys own this? Taking it over? When?
So LRS took over Modern last year in January. So January 7th was the date that LRS purchased Tusk or Modern.
Okay, so was one of your drivers responsible for a nightmare on the railroad tracks?
Yes, one of our drivers was responsible for the nightmare on the railroad tracks, which I do believe that's all been resolved. And,
yes.
Right. Yep. So.
Okay, and he came out of it all right. He wasn't.
The driver was not seriously injured. He had some minor injuries, and
he's lucky he didn't die.
You should have seen the video. We were.
Well, I seen the railroad tracks. That was enough to know how much you moved it.
Yeah. I was there that day. Probably half hour after the incident. But it was a blessing that he had a seatbelt on.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you.
All right, thanks, sir.
Oh, sorry, Councilman Palladino has something.
So this 28% increase, is that over 5 years, the 4.5% each year, or is that starting next year?
So that starts in year 2.
It's 5-year contract.
So 5-year contract.
Okay, so it'll be a total 28% increase over 5 years? Wow, okay.
Trash is not cheap.
Maybe this is a question for Jason too, but what was maybe you said this and I missed it, what was the total difference between the savings for municipal services and the increase for residential services?
36.
So the dumpsters rent was $36,000 and some change for the dumpsters. in favor of LRS, and the differences for LRS and Granger for the residential side was roughly, I'm sorry, I wrote this so small.
It is so tiny, yeah, it's blurry.
For the total 5-year contract, it's $942 for trash compared to $877, so you're talking $50 there, difference over 5 years. And $212 for Granger for recyclables and $237 for LRS. So again, you're still talking, $20, so. And $60 between the two.
Oh, I see, okay, I'm trying to is there a number of the total added cost for all of the residents in comparison to the savings for the city?
Well, that would be over 5 years, that would be what we just talked about minus the $36,280. So we're still at
$60.
Yeah. Correct. If you put every resident as a whole. This is $60 compared to $36,000.
Here, we'll figure it out.
$60 per resident,
Correct.
Over 5 years.
Correct,
Over
per
5
resident.
years.
Over 5 years.
over 5 years times, do we know how many, I'm just trying to
Roughly
figure
1,842 residents.
pickups.
Yep, and then another, I have it right here, sir, I'm sorry.
It's actually $90. So if you have both recycling, it's $65 on trash, and then $25 for recycling if you had that.
Okay, so 1,842 pickups times $90 over 5 years, and is the 36,000 over 5, or is that per?
It's over 5, correct.
So that's, I'm getting 165,780 in added cost to residents for a $36,000 saving for the city. Does that sound right?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Yep, thank you. There is also a representative for Granger who would like to speak to.
$18 per year for, is that then $18 per year? Is the $90 spread out over 5 years? Is that the deal?
The $65 is spread out over 5 years, yes, right?
Yes, sir.
So,
It's
Just
Yes, sir.
$12.
you're talking $13 a year on the trash is the difference. And then for 25 is $5 if you had recycling.
Just gonna go along with everything else that's going on.
Yeah, sure. Any more discussion, questions for Jason? Councilman Palladino?
Yeah, I'll just say that, if that math is correct, obviously I don't want the city to bear any more costs, but if we're talking about, 5 times the cost for the residents, so the city can save some, I think we might wanna go with the increased savings for the resident, not that we can bear the cost of it either, but, yeah. I don't know, are there any costs to switching over, any problems there?
Can you be more specific? I'm sorry, sir.
Oh, of switching providers,
For Switch right now?
yeah.
No, actually, they're under contract, are still right now, LRS is.
I mean, in order to shift the savings from the city to the residents, we would have to switch to Granger, correct?
I would believe so,
Yeah,
correct.
okay.
Any more questions for Jason? Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Council discussion?
Just one question.
Yes, sir.
When's this contract up? We know?
February 1st.
February?
Precedent 5 years already.
I don't see
Like
why.
yesterday we got it.
Yes, it does.
I do remember though, one thing, that when we did vote on this, it was because Republican, correct?
Yeah, it was Republic, and they kept raising their prices, and that's why with Modern, they said they'd lock it in and wouldn't raise it for a couple of years. So they did do us a benefit back then too. So was a savings, but look at everything that's gone up, insurance, home, it doesn't stop. I mean, everybody's taking a piece of the pie, except us.
Yeah, they're still under the contract now at $10 for trash pickup for the city. When the Republic put on, or I'm sorry, when Modern first came in 5 years ago.
And this is a representative from Granger?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Does anybody have any questions for her? Did you have something that you needed to say, madam?
Yes, I do wanna be clear on the rates that you gave Jason. There is a 5% fuel surcharge added onto that for the residential rate.
Okay.
And this is, the contract is up the end of the month. So if it was awarded to Granger, we would ask for LRS to do like a 30-day extension to give us time to get carts out there and get routing done.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, Councilman Soba.
I blew this up to 250% so I could read it, but there's some math problem here with the LRS combined municipal total on page 104. It says 13,835, and that's over the 5 years, correct?
Can we say it one more time? I'm sorry, sir.
The math totals here on page 104, which is it's labeled the bid result sheet. And on if you go all the way to the right, it says LRS combined municipal total 13,835, but it's actually $15,014.32 if you add the same as you added for Granger.
So you're talking for the dumpsters?
No, I'm talking for at the far right, it says it's under common drop off.
Mm-hmm.
But it's LRS combined municipal total.
Yeah, that's over the 5 years, what that total is. LRS combined municipal total over 5 years, that's what both of those are for.
So that's trash, recyclables, 10-yard special, and then the overflow.
Correct, those are just for the municipal side. I ran out of room, that's why I kind of put them there in bold.
So, I'm sorry, my ignorance. Help me understand, the trash totals there, are the cities paying this money, or is that the total that the residents are gonna pay out over 5 years?
This would be the residents, and this would all be forwarding to the city.
Okay, that's,
I'm sorry, sir.
no, that's fine, thank you. So, over 5 years, if we go with LRS for the residents, it's $942.20. So you're looking at $200 a year. If plus it's $1,200, so you're looking at $250 a year. Because you have to add the recyclables. If we go with Granger for the residents, you're looking at $1,100 a year. I'm sorry, $1,100 over 5 years, not a year. So it's $250 a year for the LRS, or about $220 for the Granger for each resident over time. And of course, year 5 is going to be significantly more than year 1.
Yes, sir.
With both of them. But the total, again, I just wanted council to be aware that the LRS combined municipal total is actually just over 15,000, not 13,000, although oh, I see. No, it is, never mind. I was misreading the whole thing. Sorry. It's better to flesh it out, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so can you help me understand what the 10-yard special is?
Yeah, so that is our sweeper dumpster we have at the shop. Every bit of street sweepings that we pick up from town, it goes into a special dumpster, and then gets carted off the site and disposed of properly.
Okay. And how often does that get dumped every year?
Average of 3 times a year. That's what I put these on a 3-time average.
Because there had been talk previously about considering doing a bulk pickup for the community, and there's no bulk pickup numbers.
Both, yeah. There is someone here, if you could look at our spring cleanup, that's what that is. And then there's a bulk cleanup as well, over to the right. So the spring cleanup, for curbside cleanup for LRS was $200 an hour per truck hour, and then $55 a ton dump. And Granger was, I'm so sorry, that was Granger. LRS was the same, except for the difference was of the ton of dump, 65 to 55 for a ton dump, per dump. And then they had bulk item cleanup still, where LRS was $25 for bulk pickup curbside, and Granger was $30 for large, and $10 for small pickup curbside. And then what that common drop off is just putting a dumpster out, like say at our facility, and letting people do the spring cleaning and just dropping it off at our site, or a site around the city.
Sort of like rural does.
What's that?
Sort of like rural does.
Yes, yes. Yep.
So, the bulk cleanup is not included in any of these numbers. That would be additional cost to the city if we chose to do that.
No, they're included here in the spring pickup.
The cost is not.
Well, as a whole, no, but you'd have to figure out how many hours we need, how much tons of trash, and that would be, billed to the city.
So that would be additional.
Okay, that would be a cost incurred to the city. And when we do the research to kind of get an estimate of that, is that gonna come back before us, or is that just something that we're gonna do?
I would say that come back before you. I've reached out to multiple municipalities about the price, and everything I got was so over, because one year's higher than the next. You know, there's no true, every year's the same, so that would be, and most municipalities were hard to even give me a price because it varies by the year. So I would bring that number before you, as some kind of estimate before we move forward with it.
It would definitely exceed the $10,000 that has to come before council.
Absolutely.
It would probably be multiple $10,000.
Right, the community I moved from, they had a bulk pickup twice a year. You could put a Volkswagen Beetle-sized pile out in your front yard, and it was part, I don't know how much it cost, I wasn't in city politics at the time.
Okay.
But, would one of, is there an estimate about how much that would cost? Because it's something I don't know if we can do it this year, but it's something I would like us to entertain
From
in
other
the future as a
municipalities?
community.
So I can speak to that. So, most of those municipalities are, single billed, so they're not subscription billed. So, Hillsdale is unique because it's a subscription billed to the residents. So that's, multiple bills going to the residents. Usually when it's a single bill, then you can build in those other items. What we did is we gave basically an hourly rate and a tonnage rate, saying, hey, if you guys want it, we can build a model and say, hey, this is what we'll take. You know, if you wanna cut it off at 80 tons or that 40 ton limit, you know, you can decide on what you wanna take and if you wanna take it all.
Councilman Sharp.
I believe you're talking about what Jonesville and Litchfield does, correct?
Yes.
They do their cleanups, like Jonesville does theirs in May.
Yep.
And Litchfield does theirs before the corn festival they have there.
Right.
So that's a benefit to the community, and I agree with you, Robert, on that. That way we take another excuse away from people saying, well, I can't get it to the dump, and they can put it at the curb. It's a good idea.
Approximately do you know approximately how much Jonesville spends every year on this?
I can tell you approximately Jonesville has 40 tons worth of curb waste or cleanup waste when they do their cleanup.
What's Jonesville's population?
A little over 1,000. Wow. Yeah. About an eighth of the size of us.
We do have some numbers from earlier last year when we looked at doing this. At the shop, we looked at City Marshall, Coldwater, and a couple other municipalities as well.
It's something I'd like to discuss with this year's budget.
We could bring that to the public service committee.
Yeah,
if
let's
you'd
look
like.
into it, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Whichever we choose. And then, so why do we do this quarterly billing if it's, why can't we would you just send an annual bill, or were we doing it to try to?
Well, you get a discount because it's a single hauler. So a single hauler in the city is why the resident gets the rebate or the discount. Because normally, your normal script rate is not, $14, $15. Your normal script rate up and down the street is $28 to $32 a home right now, just for MSW. And then you wouldn't even have a recycling option sometimes, depending on where you live. So that's the benefit of bringing it to council.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Councilman Sahar. Any more discussion? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
If there's no discussion, I would entertain a motion, a motion to approve you have something?
Yeah,
Councilman Pellegrino?
just to clarify, the total additional cost to the residents will exceed the total additional cost to the city if we stick with LRS.
Jason, what was the number of residential rubbish pickups?
So it was
That's like
1,800.
92 for trash and 300 some.
I'm getting about $165,780 in additional cost to the residents over 5 years for about a $36,000 savings for the city. So
1862 for trash and another 876 for recycling.
oh, and that's not including recycling, so it would be potentially larger. Okay. But then the city will get some savings under Granger with the 10-yard special, right?
A little, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think for that reason I would have to go with Granger.
Well, we have to make a motion for one company or the other company. And then we'll either approve that or shoot it down. So do I have a motion to approve the staff recommendation, which is LRS? Yes, sir.
So just to put it out there, when we changed to modern from Republic, was it?
Yes.
Republic. The Republic charged me to take my trash cans away. And modern, it took some time for me to get the right trash cans from modern, so there's an inconvenience to consider to our constituents if we do end up changing. And I don't know if LRS has a pickup fee, but I got a bill and I was pretty upset by it. And they said, no, it's in the contract, and so I paid it, but just something to consider.
Yeah, that's why I'm wondering about transition costs, but then is this 5% surcharge for Granger, is that included in what we're seeing for the 5-year contract?
Not for the fuel charge, that's not included in there, no.
Oh, that's.
So so we need to take the 1862 times 90 over 5 years, an additional cost. Oh no, that's for LRS. Oh man.
Yeah, the only thing I put in here for the numbers you see for you is the 4 or 4.5% increase per year on the second year.
So would it be accurate to say that we could simply take the 877.44 and the 212.64 and multiply it by 105% to get the total cost to the residents?
Probably close.
Okay, well, there's no way then, even a 5% increase won't be a savings in relationship to LRS, it doesn't seem, just by eyeballing it.
The 5% still brings us a rate under LRS.
Do you know the difference in?
I cannot open my workbook right now.
Oh, jeez. Sorry, I just don't feel like I have the numbers that I need to make the right decision.
Larry, do you know what your fuel surcharge weeks? I did see it in there, but there was not a
Yeah,
price
our
for
first
surcharge.
fuel surcharge doesn't start until, I believe it was $6 or $4.50 or $6.50. I'd have to pull a pro forma, but we did not have a fuel surcharge until it met or exceeded that And then if it does go below something, I can't remember the dollar amount in the performance, but if it goes below a dollar amount, the city actually gets a credit back to them, so. But that 5% would exceed.
I'm not sure I'm quite understanding that. The surcharge doesn't kick in until a certain cost per pickup.
Per gallon of diesel.
Per gallon diesel in, I believe it was in Hillsdale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What's the cost right now?
The cost right now is like $3.92.
And it has to hit
$6.50 before it kicks in, I believe it was.
$6.50 within the any time in the 5-year
Yeah.
time period the surcharge would
Yeah,
kick in.
and there's language in there to where it'll be a discussion, and then it'll be addressed quarterly or through public review.
So,
It's just protection, basically.
so 5% for trash and recycling would put Granger at $17.61 the first year.
$17.61 per pickup?
If you have trash and recycling.
Trash and recycling. Ah,
And then 4% annual increase.
It appears, I'm sorry, that that's a $70 savings over 5 years. If LRS doesn't ever have a fuel surcharge and Granger includes their surcharge.
Did you have something, Councilman Stuchel?
I just wanted to ask, why is LSR your recommendation?
LRS was a recommendation, a couple things, the dumpster one was the big one that put out there. With traditionally under the current contract we have right now, we are not paid for dumpster services, the downtown trash cans, that's also included, and that's by both. And also the proposal was up to 25 tons to drop off at no cost at the transfer station. Unfortunately, with Granger, they don't have a transfer station to utilize.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I apologize, ma'am. Could you repeat that final figure you gave me?
1761.
1761
The
versus
first year.
1795 for LRS, correct? The first year? 1761 versus 1795. Okay, so 34 cents. That's only in the first year. And they're gonna go up 5%.
Yeah, for the 5%.
I need a motion for one company or the other.
LRS, I make a motion for LRS.
Second. Motion on the floor from Councilman Sharp, seconded by Councilwoman Pratt, to go with LRS as presented for approving a 5-year residential municipal trash and recycling collection contract. Can I have a roll call, City Clerk?
Councilmember Sohan,
Yes.
Stuchel,
Yes.
Wolford,
Yes.
Mayor Stocker,
Yes.
Councilperson Morrissey,
Yes.
Palladino,
Yes.
Pratt,
Yes.
and Sharp.
Yes.
8-0 approved.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
We'll move on to new business item letter E, airport hangar renovation. Ginger.
Good evening, everyone. We are working hard on making our airport more efficient for our customers. And we have a large jet hangar, we call it corporate number 2 or the jet hangar, that was, 2015, they put offices in, the manager who owned it at the time, and used up half of that hangar that is really unusable for aircraft. And it's just a waste. And we have many customers that want to bring their airplanes in and get bad weather and such to get them out of the weather. And we can not only keep the jet that's in there, but we can fit other airplanes in there if we get rid of that office space. We can also put our vehicles in there to work on them, keep them warm, that type of thing. I brought Steve, well, where is he? Steve is the line manager, he's been all over that hangar. He came up with a terrific idea to make best use of that space. And, any questions you have, I'm sure he can answer. We had Jason and Dave came through, we walked all over that hangar, trying to figure out what we could do to make practically every inch of that hangar usable. And, I think we have a really good plan. So.
Okay, any questions?
Just,
Councilman Central.
just out of curiosity, what's the cost is it to take it out and build a new hangar?
About 500,000 for the same size.
Okay.
And if we put it over on the new tarmac, it could go up as high as 800,000. So we're taking a building that's there, dumping 55,000 into it. It's a hangar that's going to be there long-term, okay? The hangar has been neglected over the years. If you take a look at it, the eaves are falling off of it. All the woodwork on the outside is rotting off. Insulation is falling off the ceiling. So the 55,000 will not only claim the 2,400 square foot, allow us to put big airplanes in, okay, plus store all of our equipment. It's gonna take that building and fix it up, make it last many more years. Okay. Right now you can see that the guy that's actually running the hangar is spent. Well, he's bought 2,600 gallons of fuel just to heat that hangar last winter, okay? One wall is 10, okay? It's insulating it, it's cutting down costs for heating costs. So, we're making it more efficient too.
Thank you.
Councilman Sohan.
Thank you for the work. Just where's the money? What part of the budget is the money coming from?
Well, this is the same budget that we were doing the terminal with, the money that we've saved. We still have some money left in that after the terminal, and we're continuing to make money to put into that. So it would not be coming out of the general fund.
So yeah, so this is the money that you're saving specifically for projects like this?
Correct.
Just to give you an idea, in the month of November and December, we had a number of airplanes canceled coming in. We lost $8,400 in profit because the 4 airplanes did not come in. They diverted to other airports. One plane alone was gonna take 2,000 gallons of fuel.
So that 2 to 3 year return on investment could be even shorter than
Yes.
potentially than.
It depends on the weather, you're correct. I mean, somebody flies in a $1 million airplane, they don't wanna leave it sitting outside.
Of course.
So.
Continue.
So just to add to that, I had a meeting with the airport advisory board late summer, early fall last year with one of the gentlemen that he flies in regularly. I just want council to understand this. His biggest complaint was that he couldn't be here during a storm in the winter because of ice, and so he would go to
Toledo.
Well, today he's in Toledo right now.
I believe he's in Toledo.
He would have been here if he could have parked in our hangar and got his plane to de-ice. But instead he flew to Toledo and drove, and they're getting the money. He's buying his fuel from them. And so these are all very big considerations to have. But that was his biggest suggestion during the meeting we had. He said, I need a hangar to park my aircraft.
This gentleman you're talking about is our biggest customer for jet fuel. In the last 6 months, he's bought over 5,000 gallons. He flies in here a couple times a month. He takes 600 gallons each time. So, I mean, he flew in yesterday, and he was gonna fly back in today, but he chose to go to Toledo instead.
Councilman Sharp. Well, it's really a no-brainer because of the terminal we're gonna be putting in and everything. It just makes sense to do this. I know what the office you're talking about. I've seen it. It's a waste of space. It really is. And we wanna see it grow. I mean, Hillsdale's gotta keep in the 21st century. We can't go backwards. We need to keep going forward.
Well, this is a win-win
Yes.
for everybody, customers, the city.
Also to mention, you do have at your places in front of council, they were working on getting 3 bids, for the work. And you have them in front of you. The low bid was, Hodge Construction, who is local.
Yeah, they're great.
So as part of the motion, if council would approve awarding the demolition work to Hodge Construction, if so, you so choose, that would be great.
Thanks, Dave. Any more questions?
We'll also be able to reuse a lot of the things that get torn down to make benches, shelves, that type of thing.
Well, the insulation that
Insulation.
goes around this office, we're gonna take all that out, we're gonna insulate one of the walls that is just tin to help make it more efficient. So, I mean, it's win-win, as Ginger said.
Councilman Palladino?
So to clarify, the money is coming out of the airport fund?
The airport capital improvement fund, yes.
Any more questions?
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor from did you have something you wanted to add, Councilman Sola?
The motion, does it include awarding?
The motion includes awarding the 55,000, for demolition to Hodge Construction.
The motion would be to approve, up to $55,000 in construction to renovate the hangar. And the award for the demo is, to Ken Hodge Construction, which is only $18,500.
Okay.
The work for the hangar, I'm gonna do all the work for the hangar, I cannot do the demolition. It's too much for one person.
Okay. Just to clarify, the motion is to award the demolition and the reconstruction of the hangar up to $55,000 with the demolition to Ken Hodge Construction for $18,250.
I move.
Seconded.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Stuchel, seconded by Councilman Sharp. Can I have a roll call, City Clerk?
Councilperson Stuchel.
Yes.
Wolfram.
Yes.
Mayor Stockford.
Yes.
Councilperson Morrissey.
Yes.
Palladino.
Yes.
Pratt.
Yes.
Sharp.
Yes.
And Soha.
Yes.
8-0 approved.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Ginger. Thank you, sir. All right, we'll move into the last item of new business. Yes. Item F, city-sponsored local events on public property resolution.
Thank you, Mayor. As was indicated, this was the first group of items that the Public Service Committee had approved to be attributed to the ordinance change. It includes the Summer in the City event, Light Up Parade, a county fair parade, and the Tri-State Scenic Steam Excursion as city-sponsored events.
Awesome.
It establishes that 50% reduction on labor and materials.
Thank you. Good job, Public Services. Any questions regarding this? Do I have a motion? Motion on the floor from Councilman Palladino, seconded by Councilman Soha. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right, we'll move into appointments. We've got Shade Tree, Joanne Miller, and Sarah Stewart, Election Commission, Bill Mullally, who's new, Ginger Novak, who's new, Michael Hendershot, who's a reappointment. I want to clarify what happened with the election committee appointment, since a couple council members voted no. Katie reached out to me. It was either the day or the night before the agenda went out, said, I've got Michael Hendershot, Penny Swan for reappointments for the election commission. I said, no, I don't want Penny Swan on the election commission. I'd like to pick somebody else. Katie said, the problem is, this is our last meeting in January, and we have to have it established, we have to have the election commission established before February, to which I was very irritated until Katie brought up the fact that they moved the primary to February, which is something that happened at the state level.
Under those constraints, I said yes, with the understanding that there wasn't other people interested in the election commission, but there is. I've seen Mrs. Swan make comments on Facebook about stopping certain candidates at all costs. To me, that's a disqualifying statement for being on the election commission and overseeing elections. So, she's a great planning commissioner, great on the zoning board of appeals, but I want you guys to think about this theoretically, hypothetically. If some political at the state level said, I'm gonna stop President Biden from getting elected at all costs, and then all of a sudden this person was put on some committee overseeing national elections, there's a person in this room that would say, oh my God, that's dangerous. So, nothing against Penny, but if she wants to be a political activist and a local politico, I don't want her involved in our elections. So, it is what it is. I apologize. As far as it being sneaky, to me it wasn't sneaky. To me it was a big headache to me. If I wanted to be sneaky, I'd have just left the appointment, made sure it failed, and then left Katie without an election commission person and have to play catch up later on. So I just removed it at the beginning of it. Ginger is a pretty non-biased person. She's most certainly not a political activist. So, and she's not on any other committees. So.
I'll take a little bit different tone. Penny Swan has dedicated a lot of her time to doing good work in the city. She's on a lot of committees, she's very active. She's a hard worker, there's no question about that. Penny and I've had many disagreements, but I will not take that away from her. She works hard.
I would agree.
But in the same token, I will agree with what you said earlier, that because Penny is on different committees, it's not like she's out of the game. It's just that this does open up our community to more people, different thoughts, which I feel is a good thing. And I think unfortunately, the fact, Mayor, that you didn't receive this in time to make those adjustments to the agenda beforehand, it kind of caught everybody off guard.
I understand that.
Again, because the state did what they had, and Katie has to have somebody on there.
I understand that.
So that's where the snafu came in, but the work Penny does and continues to do and will continue to do is commendable.
Yep.
And we need more citizens like Penny. But
Yep.
at the same time, we need to pull in the new citizens and fresh faces as well, so.
Yep, like I said.
Thank Penny for her hard work.
Great planning commissioner, great zoning board member,
Yep.
Several times candidate for council, so I wouldn't take anything away from her work ethic, but I don't want her within a mile of elections.
And
I think that's a bad look for the city, so.
And you're the mayor, true pride.
One, and it is, nobody's entitled to committee appointments, so I apologize to council for the little hiccup, but I didn't plan on saying all that, just planned on making the switch quick and moving on, but it seemed like a couple council members voted no, so everybody needed an explanation. So, there it is. So I got Shade Tree, Joanne Miller, and Sarah Stewart, Election Commission, Bill Mullally, and Ginger Novak, and Michael Hendershot. You guys want to do these separately, or you want to do them all at once?
Separately.
We'll do them separately. All right, I've got Shade Tree, Joanne Miller. Do I have a motion? Second. Motion on the floor from Councilman Morrissey, seconded by Councilwoman Pratt. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. I've got Sarah Stewart for Shade Tree. Do I have a motion? Motion on the floor from Councilman Morrissey, seconded by Councilwoman Pratt. All in favor? Any opposed? The ayes have it. We've got Election Commission, Bill Mullally. Do I have a motion?
So,
Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilwoman Pratt. All in favor?
Nay.
And any opposed?
Nay.
Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Yeah. Wolfram,
Yes.
Mayor Stockford,
Yes.
Councilperson Morrissey,
Yes.
Palladino,
Yes.
Pratt,
Yes.
Sharp,
No.
Soha,
yes.
Stuchel.
Yes.
That's 7-1 approved.
Thank you, Katie. Move on to Ginger Novak for Election Commission. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Stuchel, seconded by Councilman Soha. All in favor?
Nay.
Any opposed? Can I have a roll call, City Clerk?
Mayor Stockford,
Yes.
Councilperson Morrissey, Palladino,
Yes.
Pratt,
Yes.
Sharp,
No.
Soha,
Yes.
Stuchel,
Yes.
Wolfram.
Yes.
Okay. 6-2 approved.
Thank you, Katie. And Michael Hendershot, this is a reappointment to Election Commission. Do I have a motion? Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilwoman Pratt. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right, we'll move into general public comment. During this time, podium will be open. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please limit your trips to 1 to the podium, and you may speak on whatever your heart so desires. Podium's now open.
Penny Swan, Ward 4. I believe you just violated my First Amendment right. Thank you.
Thank you, Penny, but no, I did not.
I have every right to freedom of speech.
Yeah, you have every right to say whatever you want. That's right.
We'll see.
You don't have a right to sit on any committees for the city. That's my prerogative and council's approval.
We'll see.
You're right, you're right. Any more public comment? Seeing none, we'll close the podium and move into the city manager's report.
I was going to pass.
You're passing?
Yes.
Okay, we'll move into council comment. Anybody got anything interesting tonight? Councilman Morrissey.
I'd like to thank Mr. Thompson for his scholarly account of conflict of interest law, and his analysis confirmed what we've been doing, which is that there's no conflict of interest whatsoever when someone who is affiliated with the college votes for a street closure or something of that nature. I don't know if he wants to elaborate on any of the things he said in his memo, but it's as we have always thought.
Councilman Sharp.
I want to thank the street crew for the great job they did for this last week and continue to do. The BPU for 3 o'clock in the morning losing our power and waking up, the house was all dark and it was a little weird. And they did a great job getting the power back on. I mean, it was a little nerve wracking when it was as cold as it was and all of a sudden, uh-oh, what's going on? They did a great job. We've got a great BPU crew. I mean, we should be always thanking those guys for what they do for us. Or we could be paying for consumers and we don't want to do that. So great job, you guys. Pass it on to your men, Jason. Thank you.
If I may, Mayor, I just want to add something to what Councilman Sharp said. Tracking some of the information on consumers outage, you know, they're a large company, so they're investor owned. But they had over 70,000 people out. And when I first saw their outage numbers, they had 120 crews. By the time they were done, they had well over 400 crews because they had to bring them in. And what they do is they have them on contract, and they come from other states. My farmhouse, I was out of power for almost 2 days. And that went out that night. At 10 o'clock it went out. And that's when I started tracking it. So I will, will say that our BPU does a great job in keeping those times short when the power's off at all possible.
Thanks, Dave.
And I would just like to agree. I'd just like to agree with Councilman Sharp that I was really excited that my power came back on that quickly, given the severity of the problems like this.
Yes, that was awesome. Anybody got anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Sharp, seconded by Councilman Soha to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. This meeting's adjourned.